What are we talking about?
In that the trade war, which has been so forgotten about, is back on, baby. It is back on in a major way. I think like weeks ago, this was a big news item. And everyone thought, oh my God. And then we all forgot about it because Trump, in response to borrowing costs for the United States going up and the stock market getting a little shaky, put a big pause, put a 90-day pause on the trade war. Well, 90 days is now up. There was supposed to be 90 deals in 90 days. How many deals do you think we got?
Well, 90 deals. So that's a deal a day.
Yeah.
I think he overperformed 100.
That's you're so close.
If I recall, at least he made one beautifully comprehensive deal with the United Kingdom.
You're right. That is one deal. One really signed deal in 90 days. And that one was pretty minor. So we're a little bit short of the goal. I just 89 short. So
how many countries are there again? Like 3?
There's like
there's 3, which is crazy because he was at 90. He was going to do a bunch with the same ones. That's how confident he was.
He came out the gate swinging. So anyway, Perry, if you could pull up his Truth Social, which is where I get all my political news nowadays. Truth Social today is a deluge of basically the same boilerplate letter to almost every country. He's just tweeting, truthing nonstop this letter. And I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read you the one he sent to Japan. So the first one, because Japan's the most important. I'm going to talk about Japan more in detail. But dear Mr. Prime Minister, it is a great honor. By the way, everything is random caps. Like, I do think he actually wrote the original draft of this. It is a capital G, capital H, great honor for me to send you this letter in that it demonstrates the strength and commitment of our trading relationship and the fact that the United States of America has agreed to continue working with Japan despite having a significant trade deficit with your great country. Nevertheless, we have decided to move forward with you, but only with more balanced and fair trade, all caps. Therefore, we invite you to participate in the extraordinary economy of the United States, the #1 market in the world by far. By far. We have had years to discuss our trading relationship with Japan and have concluded that we must move away from these long-term and very persistent trade deficits engendered by Japan's tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers. Our relationship has been unfortunately far from reciprocal. Starting on August 1st. Now, this is what I want to say. So obviously the end of the deadline was today. July 9th, I think is actually the day. But since we've reached this end of the 90 days and nothing has happened, there has now been an extension. These letters all come with an extension, which is now August 1st. So another month, I guess, is the idea. And some people are questioning, well, if we get to August 1st and there's no deal, is there going to be another extension? I think that's a very fair question. But right now, it's August 1st. We will charge Japan a tariff of 25% on any all Japanese products into the United States, which is the same number or around the same number they had in those original Rose Garden big poster tariffs. Like not much has changed. We're just threatening the same tariffs and pushing the timeline
Was
forward.
there anything in place for the past 90 days? Was it dropped to 0 for that time period, or was there something?
No, it hasn't been 0. It's been the 10% universal tariff.
Okay.
That has been collected and been going on. But all of the talked about tariffs have still been delayed. So that's where we find ourselves. This is not only the Pearson he sent it to. He sent one to South Korea and I don't know, like 50 other nations. They're all getting this letter publicly on social media. I assume also mailed to them.
Honestly, you shouldn't assume that.
I assume
Only Truth Social.
You can't trust letters. You can trust the truth.
Wait,
though.
I want to, let's see. You will never be disappointed with the United States of America is the last line. So anyway, so he's putting the pressure back on. And the heat is back on, and the markets are, again, much less believing of him as they were before, where it was an instant panic. But there is a little jitteriness today, both in American stocks and then also in the currencies of all these countries that are affected by the tariffs. Just the idea is the deadline's a little shorter. Maybe something can happen. If these actually go through, it will be extremely impactful. It's a huge, huge tariff.
While you were saying that, Perry was scrolling through the letters, and he basically scrolled the entire time you were talking.
Yeah.
Is it 25% for every single country that's getting the letter?
No, they're
is
different.
It broken down and different depending on the place?
It is different depending on the place. What was really interesting to me is he randomly picked, I don't know if this is because of the beef with Elon, which we should talk a little bit about, but South Africa got hit with a big one, like a 35% or something, just out of the blue. And South Africa, I looked it up, we don't do a ton of trade with them. My understanding is they buy our oil and cars and we buy platinum and jewelry from them. And it's all in all 12 billion or something. It's just interesting, that it's so focused on his whims and fancy. I do want to say, we'll continue South Africa thing real quick. There is the tweet he put out about Elon. You guys know we've talked about the Elon beef, but he said specifically, because Elon's launching a new political party. Have you guys heard about this? The America Party.
The America Party.
I'm saddened to watch Elon Musk go completely, quote, off the rails, essentially becoming a train wreck over the past 5 weeks. He even wants to start a third political party despite the fact they have never succeeded in the United States. The system seems not designed for them. The one thing third parties are good for is the creation of complete and total disruption and chaos, all caps. And we have enough of that with the radical left Democrats who have lost their confidence and their minds. Republicans, on the other hand, are a smooth running, quote, machine.
I love the random quotes.
The random quotes, random caps. It's just awesome. It's an awesome way to type. They just passed the biggest bill of its kind in the history of our country. It is a great bill, but unfortunately for Elon, it eliminates the ridiculous electric vehicle mandate. And it goes on forever. I don't want to read it all, but basically says Elon's mad about the EV mandate, getting rid, no more EV subsidies, and then also that Elon wanted his friend to run NASA, and that guy was a blue-blooded Democrat.
I want to read one of the sentences from this tweet.
Yeah.
And I quote, Elon probably was, comma, also, period. So a lot to think about here.
A lot to think
This
about.
does make you think.
Okay.
Not very
I
hard.
kind of like it in a sense of I have confidence it's him writing it. It's not somebody.
There's no middleman between him.
Because
and
if you told me to write like Trump, I don't think I could do it.
He
like this.
dictates it to somebody to write. There's a video of him watching, I think, Kamala Harris give a political speech or something. And this is during the election. And he's in a room. They're all like, there's like 8 people watching. And then he's dictating to a woman next to him to write. So I don't even know that he is personally writing this, which is even crazier. Because like, how do you even, he would have to manually be like, okay, Elon probably was, comma, also, period. And like the fact that he's dictating it makes it even crazier. How does he get these like
I
strange?
kind of
do
like
the
the idea.
quotes
There's a staffer who has such a read on the vibe that they know what to
They
capitalize.
know what to
Or they're like on a lot of drugs, and it's like his favorite guy is like, yeah, I trust Stan.
Someone looking at this and they're like, space business. Yeah, that's capitalized for sure. Okay, so we've delayed until August 1st to basically renegotiate.
Yes.
We didn't send letters to literally every country, but we sent them to
a
many
lot.
with varying tariffs that will be placeholders during that time or will start on the
They
August 1st
don't start until
deadline.
August 1st. So again, nothing is directly changing today other than the fact that they're not letting it drift off into nothingness. That it's like the story's continuing. Hey, the deals, we still want this. You have a small extension again.
Okay.
But like, okay.
So as far from what you know,
Yeah.
through this time period, through these 90 days, how much progress or lack thereof was there on actually making deals with these countries? Like, did we get to a position where we were 80% confident we were going to make a deal with Japan? Are any of these countries close to making a deal or in the process of making a deal? How present is that in the
I
news?
think it's a fire question. I really want to talk about Japan today, specifically Japan, because that has been priority, I think, under Trump's words. Priority number 1 for the United States negotiation team. Because Japan is one of our, maybe perhaps our closest ally, realistically, and our East Asia partner to have some against China. It's like a whole thing. And they buy the most of debt of anyone else. Like they're our partner. What's interesting is I come at this originally from the perspective of like, Trump is silly, Trump is goofy, and Japan's trying their best to make a deal and he's blowing it up.
If I could say it, he's
Yeah.
being a total baka.
He's being a sussy baka.
Dude, your Japanese is getting crazy.
Thank you.
That's what I thought, right? And so I did some further research on how, because this Japan deal has been priority number 1 now for 90 days. And they've sent United States best and brightest, and Scott Bessent and all these people have been flying to Japan regularly and having these meetings. And you hear about some of the chaos and the inability to get it done. And I just assumed it was all on one side. So I want to give you a more nuanced picture here. Japan is currently going through a rice crisis, a risis, if you will.
That's good. I enjoy that a lot.
They had a bad harvest, and so there is not enough rice to go around. So and also they have a ton of tourism, and everyone there wants to eat rice. So the rice keeps the price of rice. This is going to get history.
All right, Dr. Seuss.
Keeps rising. Dr. Seuss economics. And it's becoming a problem. People are very angry about it in Japan. One thing that Trump keeps saying in these deals, and it comes through, he's not very well informed on exactly what Japan is and isn't doing. But one thing he's got stuck in his head is that they have a 700% tariff on American rice. They won't buy our damn rice and they need our rice. What's interesting is that the current PM of Japan, Ashiba, who Trump called Mr. Japan because he forgot his name.
Dude, oh man, it's so unfortunate how awesome that is.
Yeah.
It's just
to just roll with it.
it's
You know,
just
to have no
crazy to
shame.
be in power of the wealthiest nation on earth, and you're just like, Mr. Japan. That's crazy.
I've come to
dude.
deal.
I know that isn't the important thing here. It's crazy how this.
I would love it. if
Really
the
keeps on
Japanese
giving.
PM was like, "Oh, America-sama." like we just go back to that'd be so sick.
Dude, I'm going to get to that because actually I think there's some valuable geopolitical insights that we were saying. Actually, I'm going to get to it in a second, okay? So anyway, so Trump thinks there's a 700% tariff. Now, what there actually is a decently high tariff. I don't know the exact number, but they have a tariff. It's not 700%. Maybe it's between 1 and 400%. It's somewhere in there. They do protect their domestic rice industry. So what I found is that Ishiba, who's the current PM of Japan, did not appoint the normal person to do the negotiation from the Japanese side. He appointed a different guy who's from the district that is, there's a picture of this parrot, by the way, of the guy who is from the district where all the rice growers are. Ishiba is very beholden to the rice industry in Japan. You could say corrupted by, or you could
Corrupted
say
by big rice.
But big rice in Japan. Like that's where a lot of his voting base is. That's where so he actually has the opportunity here to just pretend what Trump is saying is true and go, you know what, sir, I'll bring down the 700%. What I'm saying is the more you look into this is that Trump has actually given them a lot of easy outs, but because Ishiba is so wanting to appear tough for the rice industry that supports him, that they've reached this stupid impasse where they're both being pretty stupid. and someone had this tweet that is actually pretty funny to me. The problem with Japan's are too polite and straightforward and analytical to make a good deal. They don't get showmanship. As crass as it sounds, if they pulled up to the White House in a gold-embroidered Special 47 edition Yamaha golf cart with gold-plated Mizuno clubs driven by Shinzo Abe's widow and a mannequin of Shinzo wearing the Donald hat, he'd be more than happy to sign a deal. It's actually true that like they're so desperate to close a deal that all they would have to do is lean into the showmanship of it and offer some basic concessions.
Yeah.
But because it's politically unpopular on their side, they can't do it and nothing's getting done. It's becoming this problem where now I think Trump is pivoting to a different country to find the number one deal because Japan, they can't seem to close it.
Japan was meant to be the number one deal.
Yeah, that was the idea from minute one. And they were really willing to...
Could we
yeah.
backtrack a little bit to the one deal that did get made with the UK? I knew that deal got made, but in terms of like fanfare or its position in the news, I feel like I heard relatively little about it and also the contents of it. My understanding is that deal wasn't very comprehensive and it was something quickly put together. So why isn't his one win something that we're more locked into or you're presenting as something more important?
I think the UK deal, my understanding, is that it's really just a restatement of the way things already were. It doesn't change much dramatically. It isn't like a huge win for American producers or that the UK is going to significantly buy more goods they weren't before. The reason I brought up that Japan goofy tweet of that guy exaggerating is because like some countries, and including the previous PM of Japan, Shinzo Abe, who had his own faults, but really knew how to deal with Trump, is they've understood the showmanship. Like Qatar promised Trump 20x their GDP in investments. It's not real. They promised him multi-trillion, but like they did a big show. They had people with swords come out. They did a parade.
They gave him a plane.
Yeah, they gave him, they did the things that like work and they got the deal they wanted. And it's just funny that the playbook to winning these trade deals is actually pretty obvious now. And people that aren't doing it, it's just causing problems for Japan's car industry because they can't get a deal done here. They do sell a lot of cars in America. It's just funny. They're being so hung up on this rice thing.
Can we dig deep for a second?
Yeah.
Let's use our lemonade stand powers to dig here. And is there, if I'm a part of his administration or other people that are responsible for making these deals or setting the tariff amount, people like Scott Bessent, what is the argument, the pro argument for why these things are going well? Like, what is the excuse for not having anything done in 90 days? Why have we actually been productive this whole time? If I want to be the strongest steel man, do you guys know of anything to dig in the opposite direction?
Yeah, 100%. What they would say is
there basically, sorry, what I'm asking is there anything to talk about here other than outright failure? Because the presentation of it feels like that. And I'm wondering, it's like, it feels like there must be something they could say. If I had Scott Bessent.
No, what I would say, I could totally steal man this. From their side, what they would say is the onus is on everybody else. Like, they don't care if a deal doesn't get made. What they're saying is like, if you want to sell your goods here in America, then better figure out how to play by our book. We don't care if there's no deal. We will just tariff you. We'll just write up a tariff and that's fine by us. That's the idea. However, what I'm questioning is that because of the delays the first time, it seems like they actually do care about what the impact it'll have on stock markets and bond markets if we actually have the tariffs. I think they would rather have a nice deal and sign it and be done. But they have to pretend to be in a position of total strength. We don't care.
And
I
that's
think
a position we can pretend to be in because as a market, we have so much buying power and we're not so much an exporter where we're relying on all these countries to buy our things. We're at a deficit in the first place. We're a gigantic market that presumably these people need.
Yeah, I think they all need it individually. The hard part is whether they start to
Collectively, if they all
cut us out.
collaborate. It's
right?
like, how much do you need the American market if you can literally sell to everywhere else?
That's the big question. And so I don't know, but I do want to say this. So China is the only country that's had above 10% tariffs. They've had like the 40% or whatever from the.
I know.
And
I
you
know.
bring up that article. What actually has been happening is, I think we predicted this on the show, straight up, is like they're just shipping through other countries, which is like 100% what you'd expect to happen because the demand for the Chinese goods is still there. And China still has the only place to make them.
Let me give you a little window into this.
Okay.
As someone who, has experience working on a business that has sourced things from China,
Yeah.
I might have friends who operate businesses of similar scales
Sure.
that are making similar decisions around this problem who are also just doing this.
Yeah.
They're just doing this.
Yeah.
It just goes to a different
Yeah.
country and gets something added or repackaged, and then it comes to the US.
100%.
That's all that happens.
This is the most predictable outcome. And I think we said it from minute one. And if you scroll down, the second these tariffs started coming into play, a huge spike in Vietnam and Indonesia imports happened because that's where they're just going to Vietnam or South Korea or Indonesia. Something's being slightly tweaked and it's being reclassified so the tariffs don't apply. What this becomes is, what the lesson of this is like, hey, either we spend gazillions more to try and constantly whack-a-mole and put all this down, or we tariff every country on the world at once, questionable if that'll work, or we got to find a way to make a deal that both sides agree. Like the idea that these tariffs will just work with no workarounds, no black market, I think is a little silly. That's where I'm at. So that's where we find ourselves in this trade war with this update. I think it's pretty fascinating how, sorry, my microphone discipline. I'm going to import a second microphone.
Yeah, you just have two on either side of your face.
Well, what if we-
360?
One of those three, like the podiums.
You're just in a voice acting booth where you're like yelling through it.
I think maybe let's